Good morning, everybody. Today we will be discussing the last material that is to appear on your exam number 3, which is your last midterm. So for this midterm, you are going to have to know about clauses. So one of the things that I want to start off after grading your tests and homeworks and all that stuff is that I want to highlight that you have to watch the videos and that you have to read the book, you have to read the material that we discuss in this class, because otherwise you will not do very well in the exam, in an easy exam. There were a lot of you who got A's, many A's, but others others didn't. Others completely missed the mark, and when you went and you saw the responses that they did, it was because they were using different terminology from the book. So probably looking up on Google the answers maybe, or because they weren't watching the videos and they weren't watching me saying repeatedly, this is what this is. So if you want to succeed in your exam or in homeworks, which is a little bit late because there's not going to be any homework for this week, if you want to succeed, basically, you're going to have to watch the videos and read the chapters and the things that I'm telling you to do, which it seems a little bit silly. Like, improve your grade, you have to do your work. You can't just like not study and then take the exam and Google everything, because you won't succeed. Exam number 3 is all about clauses, so it's a pretty easy exam out of all the exams. So we said that there are different kinds of clauses, and in our order of events, a sentence is the biggest utterance that you can get in grammar, or it's the biggest string of words that is grammatically, it's constructed in such a way that it's organized, it's systematic, and it communicates meaning. So in our bigger scale, we have a sentence, and in that sentence can have more than one clause. And we've been studying clauses so far, so we know that clauses typically are known for having the subject and the verb inside, right? So clauses have a subject and a verb. We can have an independent clause, which is the main clause or component of that sentence, or we can have a dependent clause, so a clause that depends on another component of the sentence to communicate meaning. So after clauses, we have phrases. After phrases, we have grammatical categories. And when we use the word grammatical categories, we're referring to the parts of speech, the 8 parts of speech, okay? And what are the 8 parts of speech? Noun, verb, adjective, adverb, preposition, coordinators, subordinators, and I'm missing one. Probably one of the small ones. Determinatives. Yeah, so determinatives is one that you guys often, when you label them as articles, but the correct term for them are determinatives. And then when we talk about the subtype of determinatives that we can have, some of them are definite or indefinite articles, okay? So 8 parts of speech. So those are the smallest categories in terms of words. And smaller than a word, we have a morphological component, a morpheme. So that tends to refer to affixes. So prefixes and suffixes, right? And we can have different kinds of prefixes and suffixes. Okay, so in terms of the differences between all the clauses that we've discussed, noun clauses tend to be in subject position, right? And they're a string of words that refer to the person, the event, or the place that we're talking about. So they fulfill the role of a subject or an object. So for instance, in the sentence, I know where Sue lives is a noun clause about place, and it's an object position, where Sue lives. It's an object position because it's following the verb know. Whereas adjective clauses are clauses, or, the subject and the verb, string of words that describe a property of the subject. So for instance, in the sentence, the book that is on the table is mine, that is on the table is an adjective clause modifying the word book. Okay, and you may have noticed just by looking at how I made an umbrella of all of the different words that we can get in these clauses, that there's some similarities between the words that you can find in a noun clause, like where, what, when, who, whose, right? But you can also get some of these words in adjective clauses. So we have who, we have where, we have when, we have whom, and there are a lot of overlaps. So because there are a lot of overlaps, it is especially important that you understand how they function in a sentence, right? So ultimately, what's going to differentiate a noun clause with an adjective clause is its position in the sentence or the role that it's fulfilling. So is it fulfilling the role of the subject, or is it fulfilling the role of describing the subject? And important here that maybe you don't see in the noun clause is the option. The option to have an adjective clause pronoun or not. So we could have in adjective clauses words like that, which, who, whom, about whom, to which, whatever. Or we can not have them and still have an adjective clause. Okay? And usually adjective clauses give us more information about a person. And whether that information is necessary or not, or it'll determine how we punctuate our clauses. So if it's additional information about a subject that's already been defined and we're adding an adjective clause, then that adjective clause is going to be between commas. So for instance, you could have a sentence that says, Dr. Morales, who is a linguist, teaches grammar at the University of Puerto Rico. So who is a linguist is an adjective clause providing additional information of the noun, Dr. Morales. So because it's additional, it's between commas, because it's not necessary. Now, if the information that the adjective clause is describing is necessary, then it's not going to be between commas. So in the sentence, the professor who is a linguist teaches grammar at the University of Puerto Rico, who is a linguist, is necessary to identify the professor, so it's not between commas. Right? And I'm just repeating here some of the things that we've been discussing in the videos so far. So if you're having difficulty envisioning what I'm talking about or the information that I'm communicating to you, I suggest that maybe you look through some of the videos of these past 2 weeks. In the end column, we have adverb clauses. Adverb clauses are different enough in terms of their position and also their packaging. So under adverb clauses, we saw that there's a host of even more terms that we use to introduce an adverb clause. So we have words like as soon as, since, until, because, now that, since, even though, although, though, while, whereas, if, unless, only if, whether, not, even if, in case, in the event that. So we have all these different words that are introduced that talk about a manner, right, in which a verb is being conducted. Or it talks about a quality or manner, describes an adjective, right? Or it describes another adverb. So the key thing with an adverb clause is the word that introduces it as well as its function, but it's different enough from the adjective and noun clause that we won't have that much difficulty identifying it. And we know that adverb clauses can express conditionality, they can express cause and effect, right? All these different things. They can express contrasting ideas. So in the sentence, because he was sleepy, he went to bed, we're describing a cause and effect relation, and that's really an adverb clause. So again, these are some of the words, but what will help you in the end identify them is doing practice problems and seeing where you could find them and where you wouldn't, okay? And remember that in adjective clauses, we can also have adjective clauses of quantity. So most of whom, many of which, to describe a noun, okay?